Hello friends, today I want to take some time to talk about mastering your emotions, specifically your negative emotions. I don't know why this is on my mind right now. I got out of the shower and for some reason I was in a zone. And because I'm in a zone, I know that's when it's time to hit record and I know that's when it's time to fly. So let's talk about negative emotions. So the first thing I want to say is that there is no such thing as a bad emotion. There are only bad reactions to emotions. I'll say that one more time. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. There are only bad reactions to your emotions. This might come as a shock to some of you, especially if you're the type of person who's never made the association between your emotional brain and your actual brain. If you're someone who meditates regularly, this becomes fairly obvious that you are not your emotions, but we all know those people who are up in the wind when it comes to emotions. They feel an emotional state, and that is their reality in the moment, and all their decisions are based on that reality that they're living in. But let me tell you some examples. For example, there are people who feel anger and frustration. There are people who feel that and let it out and act like a 5-year-old and throw a tantrum and punch walls and break things. They can't control it. It just comes out of them. Their day is ruined. And then there are people who handle anger and rage very well. You might not even see it. Maybe you'll see it on their face for a split second, the triggering instance. But they've gotten so good at managing their anger that they don't let it out and they don't take it out on other people because they know it's temporary and it will pass. Vice versa, there is the depressed person who knows that depression is a season, that the depressed state of mind they're in will not last forever. Depression is like a box, and when you're in that box, it's incredibly hard to see anything outside of that box. That becomes your reality, but when you meditate and you connect to something deeper, that depressed person knows that depression, it's a season. It won't last forever. There is hope. It's not going to last forever. They're going to come out of it, and they just continue on, keeping on until they snap out of it. They do the things necessary to get undepressed. Workout, meditate, exercise, intermittent fast, cold showers. I'll go into this more here in a little bit. But I'm painting an example because there's that depressed person who's still able to get out of bed and move through because they know that that state of mind is temporary. I am frequently that kind of person, and that's how I know this because I easily slip into these depressed moods. But I've become the kind of person who understands that this doesn't last, it's temporary, and I'm usually able to snap out of it in a few hours, sometimes a few days. It rarely persists for weeks like it used to for me. Now, vice versa, there's also the depressed person on the opposite end of the spectrum. The one who can't see a out outside of that box. And if you're there and you're thinking the dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts, ending your life kind of thoughts, click off this video and find some help, guys. Call someone, call the National Suicide Hotline. I know it's dark, but if you listen to anybody, listen to me, it does get better. It will always get better. But when you're in that box, you really can't fathom or imagine a world outside of that depression, and you get swept away with it. Which brings me back to the topic of this video, mastering your negative emotions, guys. We can apply this to any emotion. Depression, frustration, and anger. I gave you anger. Apathy, frustration, sadness, whatever it may be. There is different ways to respond to your emotions, and it is empowering to realize that you don't have to get swept away whenever you're in a bad mood. Whatever bad thing you're experiencing, you don't have to get swept away. It's not permanent. Sometimes things just need to be felt, but when you connect to that deeper center, you come to this realization oh wow, I'm feeling this way, but this way I'm feeling is not me. And that's why I love meditation so much, guys. If you meditate for one reason, do it because it enables you to connect to something deeper. I love meditating. When I meditate, I have this mantra I tell myself, just lots of good things, guys. Like, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm exactly who I'm meant to be. What I'm experiencing, I'm meant to be experiencing. Just a lot of good, concrete things that ground me. And I've said this mantra to myself, and I meditated so many times that even when I'm in these crazy emotional states, and now I do want to add, I'm not perfect. There are times where I do get swept off my feet and I get caught up in the emotion, but I do frequently find my center, I connect, I breathe, I get my feet back on the ground, and then I respond appropriately. And people who do know me know that I've been dealing with some stuff lately, and I've had some challenging situations in my life that have caused me to get a little swept off my feet. And part of the reason why I'm making this video, because I've had to reconnect personally with this topic myself, because I am finding myself having to connect to my center more often. So back to meditating, guys. When you meditate and you sit with yourself, you start to realize that you are not your body. You are not this being that's just right behind your face, interpreting the world. There's something deeper going on. And you even start to look at your emotions differently too. Like, your emotions and yourself almost become two separate entities. Like to say the emotional brain and your actual brain, or your soul, whatever you want to call it. They're two different things. You can feel a ton of emotions, but you can still be centered. You can still connect with your mantra. You can still connect with your core. I am complete. I am whole. I am valuable. I am enough. Take some time to think with this, guys. It's actually a really cool thing to do. Like, when I quit drinking alcohol a few years ago, I spent a lot of time thinking about my core values and what I wanted my beliefs about myself to be. And then I stuck it out, and I tell myself this every day so I don't forget. And I'm at the point now where I'm not going to forget it. But I still tell myself things. And sometimes they resonate more than they do other times. For example, one thing I tell myself almost every day is, in the end, everything's going to be okay. And if it's not okay now, that means it's not the end. Now, I tell myself that on the good days. And on the good days, it just kind of glazes over my head. And I tell myself that on the bad days. And on the bad days, that's when I actually really connect with that. I'm like, it's not okay now, but in the end, it will be okay. And in a weird way, guys, I have trained my brain to feel okay even when things don't feel okay, because I bought into this deeper belief in myself, like my core, that, hey, it is going to be okay. Why wouldn't it be okay, you know? And that's what meditation does for you. So take some time. It's not hard. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do a guided meditation. Just turn off your phone, turn off media, lay in your bed for 5 minutes, and then do nothing. Let your thoughts free roam. Try to focus on your breathing. Just get into the habit of doing it. And when you get into that habit, you will start to become that person who is way better at self-regulating. You can distance yourself from your emotions, and you can feel them. If you want to get swept away with them, you can. And even when I get swept away in my emotions sometimes, it's not very often, but when I do, it's from a place of conscious awareness. Like, I know that I'm getting swept away, and I let it happen. And then I realize down the line, like, why am I doing this? You know, I need to stop. I need to connect to my center. I need to breathe, come back to baseline. And that's empowering, guys. When you realize that you are ultimately in control, and I know it's hard. I know it's hard when you haven't practiced separating yourself from your emotional self. A lot of this won't make a lot of sense. A lot of this won't resonate with you. A lot of this will be hard to connect with, like the analogy with the box earlier. The depressed person in that box cannot see outside the box. And there's so many situations where this applies, like depression, substance abuse, drinking, alcohol. There's a lot of different boxes, a lot of different emotions. And when you're in it, that's how you interpret reality until you've done the work to connect to something deeper within you, to realize, like, hey, I am feeling a emotional response. I'm having a human experience. But even though I'm experiencing that, that does not impact the other reality of my core values, my core beliefs, who I am ultimately, which, until you take some time to answer those questions honestly and sit with them and really reflect on what are the core values you want to believe about yourself, you're probably very confused here. Another reason to meditate, because when you meditate and you pause and you turn off all stimuli and you just sit with yourself, eventually those answers will come. I don't know when they're going to come for you. For me, I don't know. It was a couple of months, and honestly, my core values and my perception of myself is still changing. It's been like 3 years of me meditating probably 4 or 5 times a week, and my core values and state still change. I'm open to it changing. If I have a better way to interpret my reality in the universe, I ease into it, you know? None of this has to be rigid. It doesn't have to be firm. You don't have to be in a box. And honestly, we shouldn't be in a box. As we grow older, we change naturally. What was it? There's like this thing from Doctor Who. It's like, you know, because he always, whenever he dies, he regenerates. So he doesn't really die. He just becomes someone new. And he says this thing is like, we're all different people all through our lives. And it's so true, because who you were when you were 20, if you're 20 watching this, is not who you are now. Who I am now at age 33 isn't who I was at 28. It isn't even who I was a year ago at 32. That's the scary part. Like, I can see myself changing every year. Every year I'm a different version of myself. I aim to grow. I aim to be better, but you're still always changing. In 10 years, I'll be different. In 10 years, you will be completely different. Now, what kind of different do you want to be? That's the thing. When you meditate and you sit with it, those answers come to you. You start to realize, oh, I want to be like this. This is the kind of person I want to be. Then you make the micro adjustments today to shift into that reality. Fascinating stuff, dudes. I love talking about meditation and just these kinds of things. I'm really passionate about it. But I want to come back to talking about our emotions again. So be empowered. Understand that what you're feeling is temporary and it doesn't last forever. And guys, like, this applies to everything. I'm going to hit some of the basic emotions here, but sadness, that's a pretty, I don't want to say an easy one to deal with, but sadness is kind of simple. When you're sad, you got to just sit with it. You can do things to try to make yourself happy. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can talk to people, you can cry it out, but sitting with it and just not judging it and accepting it are the easiest ways to deal with sadness. And you don't have to deal with it. Remember, emotions aren't bad. Judging your emotions, why am I sad? I shouldn't be sad. F that dude. They broke my heart. Whatever. I don't need them anymore. No. Like, none of that matters. Just be with your feelings. You're feeling your feelings for a reason. And the only way to process is feel it to heal it. Simple. It rhymes. It's cool, but it's the truth. You gotta feel it to heal it. Sit with your sadness. When I quit drinking alcohol and I was going through a breakup at the exact same time, fuck. That was ridiculously hard to deal with because I wanted to drink. I wanted an outlet. I wanted to change my emotional state so fucking bad. But I knew by some grace and like all the wisdom and videos I've watched on YouTube that there wasn't any way around it. The only way to get through this pain, to get through this sadness, was to sit with it and to feel it and to process it. And man, I sat with that shit a long fucking time, guys. Not gonna lie. But you know what? I'm on the other side now. I ain't sad about it anymore. Breakup, it happened. The sobriety, it happened. I quit drinking booze. I'm way better for it. And now I have the freedom to step into the next chapter of my life. Whatever that may be. So sadness, sit with it, feel it, heal it. Frustration, another common emotion I have had to deal with. Frustration is actually kind of easy to deal with, guys. When I get frustrated, there's two actions that you can do to deal with frustration. One, or two actions that I like to do. And both of these, you probably want to clear people out of the house if you can. But the first one is go into your shower, turn it on the coldest setting and sit in that thing for 5 to 10 minutes or jump in an ice bath. If you've never done this before, you are going to scream. You are going to flail about. You're like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening to me? You're going to pound your chest. It's going to be one of the most insane experiences you've ever felt if you've never done this before. But I'm telling you, turn that cold shower on and scream it out. Pound your chest like a fucking gorilla. Scream it out. Fuck, shit. God damn it, I hate this shit. And you're gonna feel better. That's a really easy way to let out frustration and anger too, probably. Like, 5-10 minutes, guys, you will be amazed at how good you feel. Screaming out in a cold shower. Second option, I've also done this. I go to my room, I grab my pillow, and then I will repeatedly smash my pillow on my bed like a fucking maniac for like 5 to 10 minutes. And I'll scream to you, I'll be like, fuck, shit, this isn't fair, I fucking hate this, blah, 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 blah. And then 10 minutes go by, I'm like, oh, God, that felt so good. That was cathartic. I let it out, pounded my chest, I beat the shit out of my pillow. I assaulted my bed, get a restraining order. No, I come back every night. Dad joke, I know. I'm making myself laugh, oh my God. But those are two really good ways to deal with anger and frustration. And that was something I felt a lot, especially when I quit drinking alcohol. Like the frustration, the anger, it would just hit me randomly. It doesn't happen so much anymore. It's been a while since I've had a good pillow fight. I still take my cold showers too. And honestly, guys, I'm gonna segue into depression here, because cold showers and ice baths are actually really good when you're in a depressed state. When you're depressed, you feel like doing nothing. Well, it doesn't take much work to go into your shower and turn that water on to cold and sit there. And I guarantee you, after 5 minutes in a cold ass shower, when you're depressed, all your neurons are firing, you're waking the fuck up, you are not gonna feel depressed. Now, it might be temporary. You might only snap out of it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Maybe you will actually snap out of it for the rest of the day and you're gonna be incredibly amazed. But the one takeaway I want you to take if you're dealing with depression is, when that does happen, let that be a lesson for you that, wow, I am empowered. I am capable of crawling out of this depressed state of mind I'm in, of these depressed feelings. And if all it takes is jumping in a cold shower and turning that shit on to snap out of it, what else are you capable of? Depression, guys, that one is hard and tricky, because when you're depressed, you don't feel like doing a lot. It's very hard to get motivated. And unless you've meditated and connected to this deeper version of yourself and this understanding that depression is a season, you kind of just get swept away by it. And the end result for depression, yeah, it's suicide. It's shitty. It's fucking terrible. Nobody should have to deal with that. But as someone who's been depressed a lot in his life, like, it's a season. It passes. Now when it hits me, I don't associate with it. I connect to my core values. I'm complete. I'm whole. I'm full. I am enough. I matter. All the stuff I told myself. And because I know that it's a season, it's not going to last forever, it's temporary, that opens the door to me actually taking the necessary actions to get undepressed. So now I've got a routine, guys. It's ingrained in my being now. When I'm depressed, I intermittent fast. I'll go 16, 18, sometimes 24 hours without food. That causes the brain to start firing off ketones instead of glucose like you normally would when you're eating all the time. And ketones are a much cleaner fuel source. Your mood improves, you think more clearly. There's a bunch of science behind this. So that's one thing I do. I'll fast for a long time. I will go to the gym, or I'll go outside and just walk for 30 minutes in the sunlight. If I can't muster up the will to go to the gym, I will just walk outside of my doorstep, get some sunlight, and I'll go for a walk 20 minutes. Because that's better than nothing. You got to get some physical activity. You got to get some sunlight exposure, some kind of exercise. Doesn't matter what you do. And then I'll meditate, put on a guided meditation, sit there. Even if I can't get my thoughts under control, I'll just lay there and I'll do the action, because I know ultimately it's going to be better. And then I'll try and be mindful of the food that I do eat. You know, vegetables are always good. Omega-3 fats are great for your brain. Avocado, salmon, fish, broccoli, chicken, brown rice. Avoid the processed foods, avoid the sugar, avoid the grease. Eat something that's going to nourish you. Start looking at food as, is this serving me? Like, am I eating this broccoli because it's healthy, or am I eating this broccoli because I love myself and I want to be healthy and I know I'm going to be in a good mood if I do so? Am I eating this burger because it tastes good? No. Or am I eating this burger because I want to sabotage my health and clog up my intestines with all this grease and shit? So diet and nutrition is a whole subject in itself. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Everybody responds differently to certain foods. It's complicated, but just vegetables. Eat some vegetables. Take care of yourself, guys. And all this stuff, it's empowering, guys. Like when you're depressed, but you know you're going to get undepressed at some point, and then even though you're having apathy and you're feeling apathetic and you don't want to do anything, you still get up out of bed and make yourself do something because you know your brain is going to snap back into gear. A lot of people, I feel, do not need medicines. I think people are over medicated in today's society. I think a lot of times it's simple, basic self-care that we are lacking and not understanding and not in following through on. Because I get depressed a lot. And I mean, not so much anymore. Honestly, it's not a lot anymore. It used to be a lot, guys. I'm really happy and proud to say that it doesn't happen to me much anymore. Like when I first quit drinking and when I was drinking, I was always depressed. But God, dude, like, just can we have a sobriety moment? Just how good is it that I quit drinking alcohol? Like, I'm just in a good mood a lot, guys. Like, not to boast, not to brag, but it feels good to have like mastered dealing with something that negative. Namaste. So yes, guys, depressions. If you're depressed, just do the necessary actions you need to do to get undepressed. You might not feel better today, maybe not even tomorrow, but you will. You will feel better. That part is a guarantee because it's a season. It's like winter. Spring always comes again. Summer always comes again. Fall comes again. And then you go back to spring, winter, rather. It's normal. Everybody feels it. Everybody feels negative emotions to some degree. It's how we choose to respond to it, which differentiates person to person. And the thing that's empowering is you can, if you don't take one thing from this video, take away that you are in control. You have more control than you're aware of. So we've talked about apathy, depression, frustration, anger, sadness. Am I leaving any bad emotions out? 2 seconds. Let me look at my sheet here. Oh, you know what? I think those are the big ones, my friends. So remember, because you have an emotional response, it does not mean you need to act on it. Your emotional brain is very separate from your normal brain. And if you can't make that distinction yet, pick up the habit of meditation, and soon enough you will. And as you start to differentiate the two, you become someone who's more empowered and more enlightened. But that doesn't mean you don't experience emotions. Like, you can do all the self-care, all the self-help, all the wisdom and knowledge of the world, but you're still human. You're still human. I'm no exception to this, guys. I still get sad. I still get angry. I still get fucking frustrated sometimes. I still get depressed. But I'm also happy. I'm also content. And I'm also pretty carefree. And I'm also able to come back to center and this idea of myself that's ever changing, but changing for the positive. And it's an incredible feeling. And it's one I want for you guys. And if you're here on the channel and you're watching these videos, I know it's what you want. I know it's what you're going for. And you're on the right track. You're watching these videos. You're learning. You're growing. You're adapting. So take some pride in yourself. Feel good about it, guys. And I'm so proud of you. If nobody tells you today that they're proud of you, I'm proud of you. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what emotions you're dealing with. I don't know what you're trying to master. But I do hope you found some value in this video. And I do hope you would look at things with a different outlook. Until next time, my friends, have an amazing day. And do not forget to smile. I love you. And I'll see you on the next one.